5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Cue talent.
Welcome back to The Take on Point TV, a show where we get to hear different media professionals and their take on the media industry. I'm Isa, your Season 2 host, and we have an exciting show for you guys today. Our guests include Aaron David Roberts, who founded the new Chula Vista Entertainment Complex here in San Diego, and is also the executive producer of Rising Tides Creative. And Anna Novelo, last season host, who is now in Los Angeles working on some fun projects. Now let's hear a little bit more about Anna and her journey.
It's Anna reporting live from Los Angeles. Last semester, I was your host on The Take. This semester, I'm studying at the Los Angeles Film Studies Center and immersing myself in all things filmmaking. So let's do a little recap and check in on what exactly I've been up to here. We attend classes Tuesdays and Thursdays at the Sunset Gower studio. So rather than going into a traditional class setting, we're going on the lot every day, and it feels really cool because you never know who you run into.
We hold classes in one of the studio production offices, but mostly we just watch movies and discuss film theory and just geek out on all things film.
Alongside production, I'm also focusing on screenwriting this semester, which is really my heart and my soul when it comes to filmmaking. And so I'm currently writing my first feature-length script. And that's something really exciting that hopefully will have more updates for you guys in the very near future. And this ties into my internship this semester. I'm a development intern at Iron Ocean Films, where basically it's like a pre-production role where I'm reading scripts and vetting them and doing a thing called script coverage, which is basically covering the plot, the characters, the themes, and reporting back to my boss and seeing if it's something that is worth her time and something that the company would like to produce. It's really fun, it's heavily involved in all things storytelling, and I really am enjoying my time here.
Production-wise, I'm serving as a writer-producer for our student film titled To Be Death, and we're currently in pre-production, scheduled to begin filming in March, so stay tuned for more on that. But as far as class days go, it's kind of a mixed bag, and when we're not at Sunset Gower, we're doing field trips like this one, where recently for my narrative directing class, we had the opportunity to spend the day on the Warner Bros. Studio lot, not as tourists, but as film students. And one of our professors, Jeremy Howe, who actually directed and wrote for The Big Bang Theory and Young Sheldon, gave us a private behind-the-scenes experience, and it was really cool because we were able to sit in on a live run-through and then later walk the set and examine the props, the set design, and the production details really up close. It was a really surreal experience, and experiences like this just reflect where I'm at right now, no longer just studying the industry from afar, but really stepping into it. And being in these spaces and witnessing how every department kind of collaborates together made me realize that I'm certain where I'm meant to be, and I'm really grateful I did the program.
If you are considering this program, my biggest takeaway is this. You're not just studying film, you're actually living in the mecca of filmmaking, Los Angeles, surrounded by the industry, constantly creating, collaborating, learning, and really just getting a sense for what it really means to work in this industry. Well, that's it, PTV. Thank you for visiting me or checking in. I hope you're having a good time in San Diego, and I'll see you in May for graduation. Bye!
Welcome back, and I hope you enjoy checking back in with Anna. Now, please join me in welcoming Aaron David Roberts, the founder of the new Chula Vista Entertainment Complex, a filmmaker, and the executive producer of Rising Tides Creative. Thank you so much for joining us, Aaron.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So, Aaron, I feel like every filmmaker has that first project that they really connect with, which solidifies their passion. What was that project for you, if you had one?
It's a great question. For me, I think the first thing that I did kind of out of high school. So I was always, making films in junior high with my friends, and, if there was an option in high school to not have to write a paper but make a video instead, I was definitely doing that. But the first thing I did kind of sort of as a professional, but really didn't really know what I was doing yet, was a television pilot called The Cast Members. And it was about the first job I had in high school working at a movie theater. So, you know, it was kind of myself and a small crew. We would go shoot overnights at a movie theater because we'd have to film in there once they closed. And it really just got me a great community of folks that I still work with today. A lot of really talented actors that I met around San Diego. And that really kind of gave me that, you know, solidified, like you're saying, that love of like, okay, even if I have to shoot overnights and go work my job the next day, and, you know, obviously we're not being paid to be there, we're just doing it for the love of it. You know, I think that really solidified that, like, this is definitely what I want to do and going to keep heading down that path. So.
That's awesome. I love that. So that leads into my next question. How did you know that filmmaking and producing was your path? And did you always know, or was it like in high school when that started?
Yeah, so I was lucky enough to kind of grow up in the industry. So my dad has been in the industry since he was 18, and he was running a commercial production company when I was growing up. So I've been on set since I was, you know, about 8, 9, 10 years old, learning the lingo, seeing my dad, you know, produce these commercials, right? So it was always kind of second nature for me. It was always something that, you know, was in my back pocket. And then I was also a baseball player growing up, and then I got injured in high school, and that was kind of where it was like, all right, well, I guess if I'm not going to do baseball, then I'm going to just go headfirst into this other thing that had always been kind of a hobby or a passion, but that kind of really, you know, was the moment where it was like, all right, let's go see how this film world can work for me.
That's awesome. So you had a really great influence in your dad too.
Yeah, definitely. It was you know, when your dad is, you know, when you're watching TV at home and your dad's like, oh yeah, I did that commercial. Oh yeah, I did that commercial. Or, you know, he's talking crap about other commercials that he didn't get, but he's like, oh, we could have done that one better. It is just kind of it's a different experience growing up than I think, you know, people who don't have, you know, parents in the industry, you know.
Do you think, did you feel like that pressure that you had to follow into his steps?
No, my parents did not want me to do this at all. No, my mom wanted me to go be a lawyer or a doctor. And, you know, part of that, it wasn't because of a talent thing. It was because the industry is really hard, right? You know, this isn't an easy industry to necessarily, you know, you can make a good living in it, but it's a lot of hours, right? It's hard days, it's long days. So I think some of it was just because, you know, not wanting me to struggle, and, you know, my mom being like, oh, you're so smart, go be a doctor, go be a lawyer. But once I was in it long enough, right, you know, they definitely support me now, and there's no looking back, so.
That's awesome. And you're also the executive producer of Rising Tides Creative, right? So what are some experiences or tasks that come with that role that people might not expect?
Yeah, so Rising Tides Creative is a full-service creative agency. We work with brands and, you know, companies who kind of want their story told, right? So I'm really overseeing kind of everything in that. So there's everything from all your pre-production, so your content planning and your strategy, and, you know, basically the pre-production of the shoot. Then I'm there, you know, overseeing and kind of directing the production days. And then I'm also helping shape that story again in post-production, working with my team, right? So it definitely, you know, an EP generally is going to work kind of across all three of those facets, right? And just making sure that the product or the end video, whatever you're kind of doing, is going to turn out to the level that you know you and your team are capable of.
Oh, that's super cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so exciting. I never heard about that before.
Yeah.
That's so cool. And also, you founded the new Chula Vista Entertainment Complex, right? Which is bringing Hollywood to San Diego. So what is your overall mission for that complex? And do you know any upcoming productions in the near future?
Yeah, so with CVEC, you know, one of our biggest mission is really just to bring San Diego back to the level of filmmaking that it used to have. So there was a film studio in San Diego from about the early 90s to the mid 2000s, and they did a lot of work. You know, at one point, I heard from people who used to work on that lot that between pre-production and post-production, they'd be working on 50 projects at a time, which is a crazy amount of scale. But once we lost that infrastructure in San Diego and the studio kind of closed up and changed their business model, we lost film and television overnight because, again, we didn't have the studio, we didn't have the infrastructure to film, you know, at that scale. So CVEC for me has always been one about kind of restoring and actually then even growing from where we last were, an industry in San Diego, because I know we have so many talented crew members and creatives who, some of them have to go up to LA to get work, or now that LA is even slow, they're looking at moving out of state. And so we really want to retain that talent here for San Diegans in San Diego County, in Chula Vista. And the other real big piece of what we want to do in that same vein is help train and educate the next generation and provide those opportunities, that can kind of really grow that crew base. So when we're open and ready for business, and our sound stages should be open in about two years from now or so, 2.5 years, that we're going to have a lot of experienced crew, a lot of crew that's been trained and ready to go. So if we are lucky enough to have 3 or 4 productions and a full studio off the bat, we're going to have enough crew and talented individuals to work those jobs. So that's really the big piece of what we're trying to do, is build up that community first. A lot of that is within our Phase 1 building that should be open by the end of this year. A lot of turnkey amenities and kind of training programs and workshops, so that then when we open Phase 2, the studios, everyone's ready to rock and roll.
Oh, that sounds amazing. That's so cool. Such a cool project. I'm excited to see that coming to life pretty soon.
Thank you.
But yeah. Also, we have a lot of students here that are very interested in filmmaking, especially within the media communication major, and also people that want to become storytellers. So what should they expect in a production setting? What is it like?
There's obviously a lot of different types of productions, and I think a lot of different types of settings. One, just because it's sort of going to be personality dependent. There are definitely sets that you might find yourself on that are very intense and high energy and a little stressful. There's definitely I don't think anybody who's full time in this industry would ever say that they haven't been on like one of those sets before. But really what we try to do is, I always think that if there's enough planning and pre-production ahead of time, that your production day should be relatively easy. And if everyone knows what they're doing and it's all planned out, it doesn't have to be kind of the stereotypical of like everyone, running around and screaming and like, we got to get the shot off, right? But I think that now more than ever, storytellers are really the kind of the next wave of the future. And that word specifically, I think, is important, because the age of being highly specialized in one area is really not where we're headed in this industry. I think having specialization is important, but also for everyone on a crew to have that storyteller hat and to understand how the whole process works, and to understand, why am I lighting something the way I am, and how does that contribute to the story, right? Why am I using this lens, and how is that contributing to the story? I think that is really the most important piece, because now more than ever, if you're a brand or a business, you need your story told, right? You need to tell your story on the internet, on social media, on your website. And there's no one better to help these businesses and brands tell their stories than the creators, right? Than the creatives who can learn that, who can know that, who can help get these business owners and brands to really pull out what is that unique story that's going to connect with people. Because we don't want to be advertised to on social media. We see them all the time, but we want to be able to connect with a brand and a story. And that's really, I think, again, the next wave of the future. So I think that's really important to focus as much as you can on that when you're young, and really build that talent, no matter kind of what area of, whether it's pre-production, production, or post. Having a really strong skill set in storytelling, I think, is incredibly important.
Yeah, that's such good advice. Also, that's going to lead into my other question. What advice would you give to the students that want to follow a similar path as yours? And what should they expect? Because I know it's a hard industry to get into. Yeah. So do you have any advice for us?
I will always tell anybody, my first thing of advice is, if you really want to do this, it's going to be one of the hardest things you've ever had to do in your life. Like, you have to really be in it, and know that you're going to have to run through brick walls, and you're going to feel time and time again that you're stuck. That really means you're just that close to getting on the other side. And so if you know that in your heart that this is what you want to do, and you're ready for it to not be an easy industry to break into, that's step one. That's the biggest advice I can give anybody. From there, I think it is a little bit of the storytelling piece, but really it's learning the whole scope of production. Even if you want to be an actor, I have friends who, were actors 10, 15 years ago, and they've had to since learn producing and editing, and part of that is so they don't have to wait to get cast in something else, right? Because if you're an actor and you know the basics of producing and even using an iPhone to film something, you don't have to wait for somebody to cast you in something. You can cast yourself in something and get going, right? So I just think that no matter what you want to do within the industry, if you can really have a good knowledge base of how the entire sausage is made, so to speak, right? From pre-production and planning and concept all the way through editing and post, and how those choices are made and why they're made. Because then if you learn both ends of that, you're going to be so much better in production, on set when the cameras are rolling, right? And that's one of the biggest things that I learned as I got into post-production more. I was able to be so much more efficient on set because I would go, okay, I know I don't need that. I'm not going to use that in the edit. Or I know I need that because I'm going to have that for the edit, right? So I think the more of a broad knowledge base you have about production as a whole is going to be incredibly beneficial to kind of making it in the industry.
Oh, that's such good advice, because like here in our major, we learn like a little bit of everything, I feel like, and then people are trying to decide like what they're best at. So that's amazing. That's good to know. That's a good way to go. So thank you so much for joining us here on The Take.
You're very welcome.
And we really loved like hearing your insights in the media world. So do you have anything you would like to add, any projects you're currently working on, or maybe where people can find you?
Yeah, so for CVEC, as we call it, follow us on Instagram at Chula Vista EC. We also have a Facebook page. If you haven't joined our mailing list, you can find that on our website. Between social media and our mailing list is sort of how you can know about any upcoming events or workshops or projects or job openings. It's definitely going to be the best way to really be with your finger on the pulse of what we're doing. We should be opening our kind of, as I was mentioning, our phase 1 creator spaces. Hopefully by the end of this year is what we're still on track to do. So those are going to be operating kind of on monthly membership models. We'll have special discounts for students, student pricing. So the more we really want to build a space for everybody, for the creators, for students, for people to come and learn and also work together. So that's what really excites me about this project more than anything. And so yeah, please give us a follow on social media and join the mailing list so you can know what's coming next.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Aaron. And we're so excited to see what's next for you.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Now let's jump to Bryce, who's going to share a controversial media topic in our last segment, The Hot Take.
My hot take is that you do not need to love those typical film bro movies to belong in the film industry. Your favorite movie does not need to be a 3-hour-long French film from the 1960s that somehow has no dialogue. It can be Legally Blonde, it can be Lilo and Stitch, it can be that one movie you watched on a plane 3 years ago and loved so much it stuck with you. Liking movies doesn't have to be which one makes you think the most or makes you sound the most intellectual. Movies aren't supposed to make you suffer. It can be a comfort movie, guilty pleasure, or just to watch that football scene from Top Gun Maverick. Nowadays, everyone ranks movies like they hate themselves, watching movies that bring zero joy and only boredom. I'm not saying that liking these films makes you insufferable, but maybe if you watched a film that made you laugh and smile, you would actually love film more, recognizing that it's both art and entertainment. Enjoying a film doesn't mean you have to analyze every second. My favorite movie is Superbad, and I'm still holding a camera. So enjoying film is a part of loving movies, so you don't need to suffer through every film just to pick it apart on Letterboxd. Anyways, thanks for joining us here on The Take, and we hope to catch you next time. From the control room to your screen, that's The Take.